Good morning everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Morgan Venter. Today I have a few things I need to do in the garden, and starting off with these weeds here in the corner garden. Definitely a big problem. I need to sort out this row over here. I've noticed when I water, it's a little bit tricky to see where I'm watering, and I don't want the weeds to be soaking up too much of the water as well. So first thing today is sorting out the weeds in the corner garden. Okay, so starting off with this side over here, all of these weeds here is what I'm talking about that kind of get in the way. So taking all of that out, and I also have some pruners here, so anything that is kind of blocking my line of sight to see where I'm watering, and anything that is touching the ground is going to come off. So all of these little suckers here at the bottom, all these leaves. Sure, this one plant has turned into three because I left a sucker here and I left a sucker here. That's crazy. If this one doesn't have anything on, I'm gonna cut it off. Yeah, that one's coming off. I think more than two is a problem. If there's three, then it gets a little bit out of control. I like to have, if I had to do a pruning technique, I'd rather go one plant splits into two instead of 3 or 4. It just gets a little bit out of hand, so I'll cut all of those ones off and then trim anything down here, pull out this weed, and yeah, that's basically what I'm going to do throughout this entire row. That row is pretty well done, so I'm not going to do anything there, but this row definitely needs some work. The Alyssum copped of snow, this white flower at the bottom here, I am going to be leaving that because it's beautiful and it's not really obstructing too much, and yeah, it brings in pollinators and it looks really amazing, so I'm not going to be removing that. As well, any parts that I can see early blights coming in, I'm cutting the entire thing off. I'm not just trimming off the part that has early blight, I'm going way back and I'm cutting off that sucker that had the early blight. Even if it has tomatoes on, ooh, even if it had tomatoes on, or if it had some flowers or some new growth or something, definitely not going to be keeping that because I know how early blight works and it's going to spread like wildfire. Alright, so there we have it. Definitely looking much better. Now, just to go along and do all of the little weeds and all the plants down here. Okay, these tomatoes are all done, and all of what I have pruned off or pulled out the ground is going to go onto the fire pit. I'm not going to be putting this into the compost. Two reasons: some of the leaves have got early blight. Early blight can survive in my compost pile. It doesn't get as hot as a compost pile should, so that's why the weeds are also not going to go in there, because they might survive. So all of this is going to go onto the fire pit, dry out, and then it'll get burnt with everything else that is there already. And as well, make sure you don't forget to sanitize your tools, especially with working with plants that are diseased. Don't want to be spreading them onto plants that don't have anything. Cool. Okay, so the next thing I need to do today is something I'm really excited about. Behind me you can see a huge avo tree. This is an avo tree that my friend and I started at hostel when we were still in school, and I think it's maybe 2 years now, 2.5 years, because I've been out of school for a year, and I think we started it in grade 10, so maybe 3 years. I think it's around 3 years old. Really cool, and I'm going to be transplanting it down at the bottom of the garden. It's kind of started to stop growing. I don't really see a lot of new growth as much as it had in its first maybe year. So I'm thinking it's had its time in the pot and it needs to go into the ground. So here at the bottom of the garden, this is where I'm going to be transplanting it, right here in the middle between the fence bed and the butternut. It's going to go just over there. It's going to get enough sun because these trees have been trimmed and there's not a lot of shade that's going to be falling over, although there's a lot of shade here now, but that's just because of like that little part there. But once the sun comes over, it should have enough sun all the way over there. So this is going to be the spot for the avo tree. Speaking of avo trees, this is also one that Matthew and I started when we were still in school. Despite its size, this one is older. I do remember us starting this one before the one that I'm going to be transplanting. I'm not sure why it's still so small, but it's doing well. It's growing some nice new leaves over there. Every spring it does have a good flush of new growth, so it's doing its part. Then there's no avos yet, but it's not too bad. It's going to be a lot of digging. That pot is quite large, so I'm going to have to dig a nice big hole because I want to put some compost in here as well, just to give it a little bit more food, because this ground is not as nutritious as some people would think. So yeah, I'm going to dig a really big hole, add some compost, and then the tree can go in. Okay, so I think the hole is pretty much deep enough, because all of this ground is obviously not going to fit back in here when I have the tree in here. So that's going to go around and create like a mountain going around the whole thing, so that when I water it, then all the water stays in one spot. So I'm not too worried about going deeper than this. The ground is starting to get extremely hard and I'm really battling to get deeper than this. So I'm going to get the avo tree down here, see if I can fit the pot in here, and I can kind of get a rough estimation on if it's going to fit or not. If it does come up a little bit, it's not too bad, because I am going to be kind of hilling it up with all of this ground over here. So yeah, now just get the avo tree down here and see what the fit is looking like. Yes. Okay, this avo tree is heavy. It's very heavy. And what my sister and I were actually going to do was, when you do a normal transplant, you put your hand under here, turn it upside down, take the pot off, and then plant it in. Now that's what we were going to do with this one, but didn't know it was going to be this heavy. So what I'm going to have to do now is take off as much as I can of the ground on top. There's a little bit of mulch on here as well. And then I'm going to turn it on its side, kind of dig around it, see if I can maneuver the pot off in some way and then lift it and put it in. Because once it's in here, it's in here. I don't think I'll be able to get it back out because I'm gonna have to bend down quite a bit, and it's just going to be very uncomfortable, and I don't want to risk damaging the roots or hurting this stem as well. So I'm going to try my best to try and figure out a way to get this thing out and in here, but what I'm going to do now is just put a little bit of compost in here, and then I can start trying to get this plant out of the pot. Hey! Volunteer carrot. That's crazy. There's roots coming out the bottom here. Whoa. How am I gonna do this? Damn. It was coming. It was definitely coming out. Wow. Okay. Okay, there is contact at the bottom there. Now I can just start filling it up again. Wow. Beautiful. There we go. Okay, now what I'm going to do is give it some water, and I do have a little bit of the Organic Grow Hydrofras, link in description if you'd like to get some for yourself, just to help settle the plant in, give it a little bit of food. Doesn't really need anything, it's kind of just so that the plant knows that it can survive here, that there is some nutrients and some food. So give it some water, then prune off any of these dead leaves, and then we'll be completely done. There we go. Oh, okay, these ones at the bottom here. I don't know if I should actually just cut this thing off. No, I might leave it. Alright, and there we have it, this beautiful Avo tree transplanted in. That's going to be the end of today's video. I don't really have anything more to do today. So tomatoes, pruning up the corner garden, getting this beautiful Avo tree planted in the ground. Now it's just a matter of doing some watering later on today, and that's basically about it. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you really enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Have a wonderful day, stay active in the garden, and I'll see you guys in the next video.